Well, good evening, listeners. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Lament of Hope podcast. So grateful for you guys, and by the time we have this episode, we've passed our 300th episode, so that's very exciting. I'm very grateful to all of you. Please continue to subscribe and share. And I really do like hearing topics from you guys, and I've just gotten many that have been really interesting for me, so I can go and research and think about it. So please continue to do that. But I'm excited today because I have an interesting guest. Her name's Jen, and I will link her Instagram channel below. And her tag for this underneath her name when you go to the channel says High Altitude Yapper, which really caught my attention. And then as I started watching her videos, I just really thought she seemed very authentic and raw, and she didn't seem like she was afraid of the camera or talking. But she's 6'4", and one thing I've really been wondering for a while is I married a husband who is shorter than the, I guess male average, as you would put it. And he was telling me about things he had faced as a kid and even as an adult about being short. And I was like, I wonder what it's like for a woman who may be taller than average. And so I came across her channel and I thought, well, this might be a perfect opportunity. So Jen was kind enough to do this with me. So Jen, thank you so much for coming on and diving into this topic with me.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here. It's such an honor. I appreciate you even considering me to talk to me and want to hear whatever I have to say, but thank you.
Well, to start out, just for people to get to know you a little bit, because I know when you look at your page, you do beauty topics, you talk about fitness, and you talk about like life, just random topics. What what got you started doing a content creation channel, and what are your what are those passions coming from that you really want people to connect with? Because there's so many, fitness, beauty, talk about culture influencers. So I just what was the catalyst for that for you?
So I actually would rant on my stories on like Instagram all the time on my private personal page where I just had friends and family following me. And I would get all the time like, you need to start a podcast or you need to start a public page or you need to go on TikTok and like share these rants. They're so funny. You're so funny, whatever, and or talking about skincare or makeup because those are things that I am very interested in. And so I think that was kind of what was my aha moment and just decided, you know what, I'm going to run with it. I thought at first I'm like, no, I'm too old for that. Like, I thought TikTok is for the kids, it's for the youngins and I'm 37. I'll be 38 next month. So I was like that's just not for me, but I decided to just go for it and have fun with it and just not having a niche was my niche. You know what I mean? Like, yes, I'm tall. But that's not all I am. I'm not just tall. I love, like I said, I love makeup. I've worked in a makeup store. I've always loved makeup. I love skincare. I love beauty. I love being at the gym. I've worked out, been in the fitness industry, been, around that world for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I happen to be tall, you know what I mean? And I'm also married and I have kids. So I just wanted to share my point of view on all kinds of things and not be tied down to one specific like niche, So that's kind of what started all and just kind of rolling with it. Still figuring it out.
Well, I was going to ask you because you have a good following, and I think so many content creation videos, or, if you're trying to find advice, they always say stick with a niche, don't go off your niche, and keep
Right.
building on that niche. But, and I don't know about you, but I find that very hard when like you're in a world where there's just so many things and stories that you want to talk about. And it's like I
Mhm.
can't, if I pick one niche, I'm pigeonholed for that on this, and I'm loyal to my audience to bring them that continual same thing. But if you're passionate about many things, and obviously you have to limit them, but at the same time you have like a common goal with them, that's what you stick with. But it's harder, I feel like, for content creation, people are usually always saying stick with one thing and keep at it, but it doesn't always work that way to grow. And so For you, has that been discouraging or hard that you talk about a lot of different things, that you don't have one particular thing you're always talking about? Or have you found that your audience has adapted to that and enjoys that versatility?
I feel like I definitely want to do it for the people that are following me, but I started doing social media for myself
Yeah.
for fun for me. So that's kind of what I'm trying to stay true to and hopefully continue to do so. So it's things that I want to talk about or I want to touch base on. So I don't feel shackled to any one thing in particular. Like those are just like what I have in my bio, right? Like beauty and fit, like those are just things that I commonly post. But I also post rants. I'll make like a little rant here and there about whatever, whatever topic feels like relevant or just silly, honestly. So I do find it hard. I have had times where I'm like, maybe I should just focus on one thing, like especially when I'm seeing more traction on that specific type of content. Like if I'm seeing a lot more views and a lot more comments on that, then I'm like, oh, maybe I should. But then honestly, I'll post something that's totally in the opposite direction, and that gets some traction. And yeah, I just don't feel tied down. I don't feel like I have to do something. It doesn't feel like it's obligatory. It doesn't feel like I'm gonna get burnt out on one specific category if I just kind of follow whatever feels right and feels natural, as long as I'm trying to like stay as transparent and authentic as possible. I feel like I'm gonna be okay making content for a while. And then, if I do decide to niche down and isolate into one specific category, then that's my choice. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
if my followers don't want to stick around for that, it's okay. I'll find my people, I'll find my tribe, kind of like in life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it doesn't feel too challenging. I'm trying to keep it fun and light. So, hopefully it continues is as my following slowly but surely is growing. I hope that it's the right people that find me. So yeah.
Well, and I was gonna ask you too, like, do you have boundaries? Is like a certain, because some people will go on the internet and they'll rant on anything they think about, no matter what it is, no matter what time it is, just anything. And then other
Mhm.
people I'll notice will rant and have a moment, but they're very select. They're not going to just, if I'm having a really bad day, dump it right away onto their socials. Some people seem to think about it more. Some people pick what bad days they would prefer to show and others that they wouldn't. Do you have boundaries on that type of thing for your own content creation?
Definitely. I would say all of my content that anything that has to do with rant is always going to be more in a comedic like sense. Like I'm always going to have kind of like a comedic feel behind it. I'm not really being serious. Like it's the internet, and I know that there are very serious topics that are discussed on the internet. I'm not trying to say that, everything on the internet is a big joke, but for me and my content, like I'm gonna laugh through it. One thing about me is I'm gonna make a jokey joke about it. You know what I mean? Like I don't take anything that seriously. I'm not touching on topics that are going to be super, super sensitive. I don't like to touch on topics, especially that I'm not educated enough to make
Yeah.
those kind of like statements on. I feel like there's enough misinformation on the internet. You know what I mean? And it's okay to have an opinion. That's what's great about our country is that we can have that opinion still
Yeah.
for now. And so I won't really touch on those things. I do a little bit here and there because, there's certain social injustices that I just really just can't stand to see. But at the same time, everything that I post when it comes to my rants is gonna have, like I said, that it's for humor, it's for jokes, it's for lighthearted. Do some people take it, a little bit to heart? Yeah, sometimes, but I mean, you can't really control other people's reactions. You know what I mean? I can't control what other people do. I don't ever
Yeah.
talk about I don't like to talk about, like I won't joke about someone's looks. Like I'll never stitch another creator or someone on social media and like poke fun at something they're doing, even if I don't agree with it. Like that's not something that I vibe with. I'm not going to poke fun at anyone else's anything. Like that's usually not what I'm about. That's not how I want to get views. I don't need to bring other people down or, even comment on somebody else's stuff. Like I see a lot of people stitching, like one example in the fitness world that I see a lot is like, um, trainers or whatever creators stitching other women's and mostly women's workouts and telling you whether it's a good workout or a bad workout. Like to
Hmm.
me, it's like that's fine, that's cool if you want to like share your expertise, but like I don't ever want to have to like bring someone else's content into my content to make me relevant, if that makes sense. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, there the boundary is definitely that. I don't post a lot about my family. I don't post about my kids. I don't bring my kids on my page. I don't talk about my husband on my page. Um, because it's just a personal choice. I don't want that out there.
Yeah.
So those are my boundaries.
What what is something about the beauty industry that you find really hard? Because I know that, or frustrating is maybe a better term, because like going, as we move into talking about height, beauty
Hmm.
for women in general is just always really hard. There's never a perfect,
Yeah.
and then the perfect that is presented is only perfect for a short time and then it changes again. And it's just something that is also not feasible for most people. You know,
Hmm.
it's not based on personality, it's not based on even skincare. It's just based on a particular look that is trending at the time. So if you want to look that way, go that way. And it's just always a very stressful, I have found it always a very stressful topic. And so how do you navigate that, especially as you were talking about? Because like you say, you know, you're in your 30s, but at the same time, I'm like, she's not old. But for many
Right.
people, they're like, oh, she's nearing her 40s, so she's older. What like what does that look like for you? How has your perspective changed on beauty in general? Like, is it still really hard, source of insecurity for you?
Um, I think that the reason it's changed for me is, or it has changed over the years, is actually I've gotten more kind of secure in who I am as a person. And
Okay.
then that kind of leaks into other categories of my life, you know? So,
Mm.
as far as beauty standards go, yeah, keeping up with trends is really like a lot. It's overwhelming for the average consumer, right? Like if you're a makeup artist and that's what you vibe off of, you love it and you want to like create all these cool creative looks and you love to like get into the new thing, that's great. But for the average consumer and the average woman or man or makeup user that isn't a professional makeup artist or a professional esthetician or whatever, yeah, it's super overwhelming. And there's a million bajillion products out there, and there's a million bajillion influencers all telling you what you should be doing and how you should be doing it. So for me, it's more like I just take little bits and pieces, and I try to have fun with my makeup. I do what I want to do. If something's trending and I think it's cute and I want to try it, I'm gonna try it. And if I want to buy it, I am a over consumer. I love makeup, so I am definitely the kind of person who, if I see something, I'm like, oh, I want that. I'm gonna try it. And I think it's just having fun with it and not feeling that pressure of like, I have to do this look because that's what's in and that's what everyone's doing. Like, if you want to try it, cool. And if it works for you, great. But if it doesn't, like, do what works for you. If you don't want to wear makeup, don't wear makeup. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with other categories in the beauty industry, like getting Botox or getting filler or getting, all these cosmetic procedures done. Like if you want to do that, go for it. If you don't want to do that, that's okay too. As long as we're not like judging each other and putting each other down for our choices in what we're choosing to do with our own bodies based on a beauty standard that is, let's face it, unachievable either way you cut it, then who cares? You know what I mean? Like life's too short to be hung up on that kind of crap anyway. I just think like have fun with it, dude. Like that's how I see it. So it's not hard in the sense of like trying to be at that standard. I don't feel that pressure, I guess, because I also know from my experience in working in like a makeup store and seeing the general public, not like social media, which is filtered and a facade in so many ways.
Hmm.
And it's glamorized and it's scripted, and we're all like, wow, look at this. And can you believe that? And look at how, like, it's very, very scripted. It's very much meant to sell you something, essentially, right? Even if it's not selling a product, it's selling the creator and the image they're trying to portray. And we all, have a persona or whatever when we're on social media, I guess. But for me, dealing with everyday women, mostly women, and of all ages, in all walks of life. Like they just want something that's simple and they can go to every day that makes them feel comfortable and confident. Like that's the goal for most people.
Hmm.
So, as long as you can do that and inspire that, then I think they're okay. I think it's just a matter of kind of shutting out the noise and doing what makes you happy. You know what I mean? No
Yeah.
matter what it is. Like for me, I do love makeup. I love a full face of makeup, don't get me wrong. But if you don't, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I don't think that should be shamed either. You know what I mean? So yeah, I see women all the time like, can you make these wrinkles go away? Like, no, aging is a absolute privilege. Yes, we can do it gracefully, absolutely, if that's what we want to do, if that's what we want to achieve. There are ways to do that, but you're gonna have wrinkles, you're gonna have fine lines, like you've earned those. It's okay to have them, and I think that's more important than focusing on trying to look like the airbrushed 22-year-old, creator that literally does this for a living.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, let's be a little realistic. Let's have realistic expectations, and set those standards. And I think that's gonna help women feel a little more comfortable and confident in their skin and feel a little more comfortable and confident in reaching for those trends. That's why I like to film my any beauty content or makeup stuff. I film it on like a really high definition camera. I don't put filters on. I use just regular ring light and I show you my creases and I show you my texture, and those things are normal. That's okay. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
makeup still looks great in my opinion, but skin is gonna do what skin does. Like we're not eternal, unfortunately. Like that's just the way it is. So yeah, I'm comfortable with myself now. There are, moments of course of insecurities. Who doesn't have them? But for the most part, like I've seen real women like in real life, not just
Hmm.
stuck on social media and focusing on that, so I think that's helped.
Well, and that's interesting when you're bringing up like the aging and the creases and everything, which is a constant thing, trying to look younger as long as you can.
Yeah.
Um, do you do you think that there can be a time when beauty or even your height or just anything can become too much of a focus? That it's no longer even a means of enjoyment or creativity, but just completely consuming.
I think so. I think that's when it's like, yeah, absolutely. Like you mean when it comes to like creating content, you mean?
Creating content or just in your personal life. I mean, if that is
Just in
like your
general?
goal, like I must look this way, I'm
Oh.
you're never there's never a satisfaction. Because I guess, one thing people talk about a lot is like if you're doing Botox, a lot of times people do it multiple times, right? Until they get
Hmm.
something, but they're not even really sure what they're trying to get. They just want to look better and better and better. But I guess I wonder, is there ever like an end? Like, is there something where you're like, okay, I've done the best, like how far do I go before this becomes too much or not helpful anymore?
Um, I think that's really individualized. I feel like everyone's gonna have their boundary, their hard limit, or their line in the sand of what feels like too much for them. Like for some people, like a full facelift might be not a big deal, you know what I mean? And other person be like, whoa, that seems very invasive and like too much, right? And then you have the
Yeah.
other person like myself. I get Botox. I get Botox in my 11s right here. I get Botox in my crow's feet. I've had lip filler in the past. And so for me, that's not too big of a deal. But then you have someone who wants to age naturally and is like, I would never do that. You know what I mean? So when does it become enough? I don't know. I think that has a lot to do with society and consumerism, and then just what we're inputting, or what we're, I guess, being exposed to, and what we're just absorbing on a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
Like you see all these people on social media, again, it goes back to that, looking a certain way, and you're like, oh, that's the standard. I guess I have to look like that. But I feel like being like the older I get, the more I feel like secure, like I said, in who I am as a person.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not looking like, do I want to look good for me? Yeah, of course. But at the same time, like, I'm not looking for anyone else's approval. Um, it's nice to hear like my husband tell me like, oh my gosh, your makeup looks really good today, you did a great job, or whatever, right? Or your hair looks good. And he's really great about hyping me up and complimenting me, and I think having a partner that does that really helps as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking for that, from anywhere else really. And when does it become enough? Gosh, I don't know. I don't think it ever does. I feel like it's the same thing with people trying to lose weight, right? Or like get fit. Like you almost have like a body dysmorphia and you feel like, well, I could lose maybe 5 more pounds,
Yeah.
or I could, for men, like I could get a little bit bigger, or even women too, like I could get my butt a little bigger or whatever, whatever the goal might be. I feel like, unfortunately, as I think it's just human nature to want more. And that goes in any category, unfortunately, in life. Like, we
Yeah.
want more money, we want more power, we want more, whatever, riches and exposure and whatever. Unfortunately, it is like human nature to always want the next thing up.
Yeah.
And the society that we live in and how our society is kind of structured doesn't help, right? Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like the more money you have, the more power you have, the more stuff you have, the more people are like, oh wow, look at all your stuff. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's just you know the way it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But if you just yeah, if you just want to say like, oh, when is it enough? I think, like I said, it depends on the person, man. Some people are like content with like barely anything, and some people are like, hey, I always, always, always need more. Like,
Yeah.
you got billionaires in the world that are still trying to strive to get more money, and it's like you could never spend that in a lifetime.
I know.
But yet here we are, still trying to get more. So beauty industry wise, it's never going to end. The beauty industry is a 1 billion-dollar industry. It's like anything else, like the medical industry, like the big pharma or any of those other things. Like it's never going
Yeah.
to end. Unfortunately, the same thing that we are trying to promote, which is beauty and confidence, is the same insecurity that helps perpetuate that need to get the next thing and consume and consume and consume. So it's a cycle,
Well,
for sure.
I did want to ask you too, because that's interesting. Because a lot of the women in my life would definitely say, like, never would do Botox, never would do this.
Mhm.
Um, and obviously, you have a lot of the videos on Instagram or even on YouTube Reels. They make fun, and people are like doing mimicking their face to like show what a Botox would look like, so you can laugh and all of
Mhm.
this. But I want to ask you, like you were mentioning, you got lip filler, you did some things as well that you wanted to do. Why did you want to do those things? Like, why was that something where you were like, I think this will enhance how I look? I would like to do this. What was your thought process behind it? Because I think a lot of people just naturally assume, me included, that you must just be so insecure about how you look, you just want Botox. That's how it's
Right.
written. It's written off very quickly that way. And I just wondered for you, like, why? What was your interest in it? Why'd you want to do it?
Definitely for looks. I mean, I'm not gonna say that it's like I'm not a vain person. I don't care about how I look. I definitely care about that. And the only thing that's gonna help you prevent wrinkles is, unfortunately, like Botox. Like, I mean, you can use all the creams in the world. You know what I mean? Like, I literally sold skincare for a living, and I still think that that's important. And skincare is very, very important. But as far as like real like wrinkle prevention, like there's nothing that's gonna do what Botox does, because it literally freezes the muscle, right? Like, so you're not getting that movement.
Yeah,
And so it's not going to cause that constant creasing, which is part of what creates, that the wrinkles and the harsh lines and that. So it was definitely more of an anti-aging thing, to help prevent, like the hard wrinkle. I was getting a hard wrinkle between my frown line here. I was getting a lot, here, and I still have them. I don't go super crazy on the Botox. Like I don't completely freeze my face. I always joke with my friends, like, yeah, I want to be like a dried up lizard, just like completely frozen. I don't get that much, just enough to kind of prevent. I'm very my facial features are very strong and very prominent, so
hmm.
it's hard to hide how I feel. But my lip filler, actually, I have pretty full lips naturally. I had a big insecurity about my smile. So when I when I would smile, you could see my gums, and I had a very gummy
Oh,
smile. I have
yeah.
short teeth. So I was told, actually, my dentist told me, like, a lot of my patients get a little bit of lip filler because it helps kind of like fill that lip area underneath so that when you smile, you're not seeing gum because
Yeah.
you would just see all my top gum. And I was like, oh, okay. So I started doing it and actually liked the results. It made my lips look nice and full, but I already had very full lips before that. I just didn't have that, like, I guess, meatiness on the bottom to help the width, I guess, to help cover my gums when I smiled. So that was kind of like, yeah, it was definitely based from insecurity. I won't say it isn't. I think anyone who says that it's like you get procedures because you're already confident, like,
Yeah.
I mean, probably not. You know what I mean? Like if you felt that great about something, you wouldn't get that procedure done, right? Like if I, yeah, if I small breasts, I'm gonna get implants if it bothers me that much, right? Like women who don't have
Yeah.
butts, they get BBLs, and also because it's trending and we see what everybody else is looking at and how it looks, and we're like exposed to it. Um, so yeah, I think that it does stem from a place of wanting to like look better. It definitely stems from some kind of insecurity for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, like I think that I think that if you want to do those things, there's nothing like wrong with it. Like it's clear as day when someone has, you know, like a lot of work done, right? Like you're not hiding it. You're not being discreet about it. And I feel like if you want to get those things, get those things. But I feel like women who are, I guess, big names, like big celebrities, and they try to hide it and be like, no, I would never, I've never gotten anything done. This is all natural. It's like, come on, have a little transparency. There's nothing wrong with it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it.
Yeah.
I don't go around making fun of women who don't want to get Botox. Like, why? How does that benefit me? And vice versa. Like, I don't think women who don't have Botox and make fun of women who do. Like, I get it. There's some people that look really, really like overdone. I understand, and it's at a comedic level when you're like, "Whoa!" Everyone can agree that that looks insane. Whether it's their face looks so stiff that they can't even
Yeah.
sip out of a straw, or they have the biggest implants. But it's like it's not hurting me. At the end of the day, it doesn't. It's none of my business. You know what I mean? Like what other people do with their bodies, as long as they're not hurting anyone else. I don't care. It's none of my business, you know? So I'm gonna do what makes me happy. Um, because my life's too short, like all of our lives is too short. So I'm gonna do what I want to do. And if it's getting Botox or getting lip filler or getting a fat transfer, hey, if I have the money and I want to risk my life going under the knife, then that's my prerogative. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think it's anyone else's business what people want to do as far as altering their faces or not. It's none of my business. It's your choice. So
You know,
yeah.
I also think one thing you said earlier about like your husband being so supportive, because I've known women in my life who like their husbands didn't like how they looked, and that was a
Hmm.
huge discouragement. Their husbands were they had roaming eyes, they were always looking and comparing, and you'd see these women deflate, like just
Hmm.
completely deflate, and wanting to. I think we are really quick to write off or judge why someone's doing something, but sometimes there's just a lot of reasons that are
Hmm.
not quite. If you don't know the person, you haven't asked them, you don't know, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, that could be like deep-rooted trauma, right? We don't really know. And it sounds silly to like, oh, this Botox is because of my trauma. Like it sounds silly, but honestly, like if that's what helps you feel a little bit better about yourself because somebody made you feel inadequate and that's the one thing that helps you feel a little better, then why not? You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna look at yourself and feel good because you got a nose job, whatever, then go for it, yeah, and it doesn't always necessarily have to be about the male gaze, like for straight women and straight men, right? It's not always about the opposite sex. But I understand that because if my husband were to tell me like, oh, that's too much, then I would definitely take that into consideration. That is my partner. I'm not going to just blow him off. Like, I know some women would be like, I don't care what he said. I'm going to do what I want, which is fine. If that's how you guys carry your marriage, again, it's not my business. Go girl. But for me, like, I do want my partner, my husband, to find me attractive, right? Like, that's my goal.
Yeah.
So if he's like, oh, I love it, like he hypes me up and he says, I like it when you get lip filler, I love it when you do your makeup, you do a great job. But he also compliments me when I don't have makeup on, and he loves to see my freckles because I have a bunch of freckles, and it's stuff that he's always complimented me on. So I don't feel the need to I guess like impress him, because I know whatever I do, like the man is so in love
Oh.
that that he's like, you know what I mean? Like he's gonna be obsessed regard. We've been together since we were in high school, we've been together, we've been through it all. We've been through thick and thin. So like, yeah, we know each other like the back of our hands. We've literally been together like more than half our lives. So
Yeah.
we're high school sweethearts. We had our son really young, and so for me, if he's cool with it, which 99% of the time he is, and if he's not, he'll be honest with me. And honestly, sometimes I will still do it anyway. But if he's cool with it, then I'm gonna do it. But like, you live and you learn. Some things, like he's like, yeah, like I shaved my eyebrows because I wanted to start drawing them on. It was a trend. And he's like, what the heck did you do to your eyebrows, right? And I was like, too late. Like, I'll draw them on, but it's like waking up in the morning next to me with like zero eyebrows. I had like half an eyebrow. And he's like, what is happening? You look crazy. I'm like, well, you're gonna have to wait for them to grow out, bud. Sorry. So, but I do take it into consideration. You know what I mean? He's my love. He's my partner. Of course, I have to think about what he wants too. It's only fair. He does the same thing for me, so it's compromise.
Yeah, no, but that's just so sweet because it doesn't reject you, like
No,
that's
yeah,
I think that's like, I mean, that's just such a keeper, right? If the person is
yeah,
just, you're so comfortable with them and they're so comfortable with you and being honest, but they love you so much that even if half your eyebrow is missing, they're not like, get out of my face.
right, right,
um,
yeah,
but this segues perfectly to your height because I want to ask you, like, kind of to start your journey, you know, when did you kind of notice, oh, I'm kind of tall compared to
right.
other girls? And what was your first feeling on that? Like, were you, wow, this is cool. I can get stuff at top shelves that the girls that I
Mhm.
friends with can't get? Or was it kind of like, yikes, I look kind of giant in the mirror?
Right. I think it started right off the bat. Like I was born a big baby. Like I was already like I was like 10.5 pounds, my poor mom. And ever since I was born, literally, I've always been longer and then taller once I was actually standing up than everyone else my age, right? So as soon as I started going to school and comparing, I'm like, yeah, I didn't notice it, because when you're a little kid you don't notice it. It's everyone else, it's all the adults and everyone else around you, like, whoa, like she's so tall, I heard it all the time from adults more than other kids, because other kids don't really notice stuff like that as much. They hear it from adults. So that's when I started to notice, like, yeah, I'm a lot taller. And then
Yeah.
starting to get into like more prepubescent age, when you're just trying to fit in, especially as teen girls. I mean, boys too have a lot of pressure, but teenage girls, it's like a whole nother world.
Yeah.
And preteen, you just want to fit in. You know what I mean? Like, you just want to be like everyone else. You want to be able to wear the cute outfits. And growing up, like for me, growing up in the 2000s, late 90s, 2000s, 2010s, like, everybody was wearing the low-rise skinny jeans, and it was like very Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears, and you're like, I want to wear that, but it's like I couldn't even find jeans that were long enough to fit me. It was so hard, and every top didn't fit right, and I was just, yeah, I was very awkward. I was never a thin, like super slim, tall either. I've never been tall and slim, so I've always been thicker. I've always been on the huskier side growing up. I'd go through those phases where kids kind of get a little chunky and then they lean out when they grow, and they get a little
Yeah.
chunky and they lean out. So that was me a lot. I've never ever been a slim person, or a slim kid. So I've always been pretty sturdy. So for me, it was really, really a sense of insecurity. I hated being tall when I was a kid and when I was a teenager. Oh my gosh. I'm Mexican and Polish. So my dad was Polish, my mom's Mexican, but I grew up with the Mexican side of my family, and I grew up in a predominantly like Mexican neighborhood or Hispanic neighborhood in Southern California where, if you know anything about Latinos and Latinas, most Mexicans aren't that tall. Like we just aren't on that side. You either are really, really tall or you're not at all. Um, so growing up with all my girlfriends being like 5'2", and I was 6'4" by age 15.
Wow.
Yeah, it was different, so then I got into like playing sports, and that's what made me feel a little bit better, because I was like, oh cool, like this is something positive that brings out the positive part of being tall. But yeah, it was hard. It was a huge insecurity for me growing up, and I would get teased endlessly, endlessly. Like boys would call me names. Girls not as much, but yeah, they would always be like, "Oh, you're so tall. You make me feel so small," and this and that, and it's like, okay, yeah, okay, whatever, So it was definitely a sore spot for many, many years. Um, Even though my parents would always try to like hype me up, be like, dude, you're tall, being tall is beautiful, you're tall and beautiful. And my dad would try to be like, no, just wait till you're older, wait till you're older. Like, I know it's hard right now, but once you get to like college and once you get older, you're going to meet other people, other women and men who are super tall and athletic and this and that. But yeah, telling a 13 or 15-year-old that's just trying to fit in and wear the trends and do the same things that her 5'2" friends are doing, it's like one ear in one ear out the other. You know what I mean? Like there's just
Yeah.
no telling me any different. So, but I knew pretty early on that I was not like everyone else when it came to my height. So I think tried to fit in for a very long time. And just recently, like in the maybe last decade or so, I really just stepped into the fact that, you know what, like it is what it is, dude. You're tall. Like it's not going to change. You're not going to shrink. Like that's who you are. You didn't choose it. And anyone who like makes fun of it or like judges you based off of that is like, it's like judging someone based on their hair texture or their eye color. Like you can change those things for sure, but like I can't change being my height. Like there's nothing I can do about that. So same thing for a man who's short. I think they get a lot of crap for being short kings, as people like to call them, and it's like
Yeah.
they didn't choose that, you know what I mean? Like they didn't pick their height. None of us do. It's not something we can control. So,
Well,
you know.
I wanted to ask you because my husband, one thing that I recently found out, I mean, I don't know how long, this has probably been a while, and I just didn't know, if you're short and you're a shorter man, you can actually get your legs extended through surgery so that you can grow a couple inches, right? Which is just
Yeah.
crazy that that's even, so men do that because they feel really insecure about how short they are. And
Hmm.
talking to my husband, even like him sharing like how hard it was at points, even sometimes, to be noticed in a dating sense because you're short. It's like,
Hmm.
oh I want to marry, and I did this. I'm when I was young, I want to marry a tall, dark, handsome, and it always started out that way, right? Tall, dark, handsome
Right.
man. And um we would just say that. And then I started noticing in my own perception that every time I saw a short guy, that was the first thing I saw: you're short. Which, I mean, I guess, you have to be honest. I mean, human nature, you're going
Yeah.
to notice someone short, but then you would
Right.
immediately make a judgment like, I wonder if this person can even stand up for themselves, or I wonder if this person
Hmm.
could even lead in any sort of way. Like for a guy, that was a big thing. And even in like big positions, if a guy's short, you're like automatically like, what, you're the
Hmm.
boss of this, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like,
Hmm.
huh. um
Hmm.
and so for women, for your experience, what would be like, do you have an anecdote or just something where it was like something was naturally assumed about you that was deeper than, oh, you're just tall, you know?
Yeah, I think the way shorter men are demasculinized for being short, tall women are masculinized for being tall. Like I
Hmm.
get called a man on social media, like all the time. That's like the low hanging fruit insult for tall women everywhere. And so many women, I've commented about it, I've posted about it. So many women agree. It's like the number one thing that men like to insult with is like, you look like a man because we're tall. And it's never a man that's taller than us, right? It's always like someone shorter or whatever. But yeah, I think that that's a big one. That's the automatic assumption is like, oh, you must or you're aggressive, right? Like, oh, like I get men approaching me and they'll just be out of nowhere. Like, I could still beat you up. I could still do this. I could still do that. And I'm like, I'm not even trying to fight you. Like, or I'd be scared of you. Like, oh, and it's like, where is this coming from? Like, did I do like something aggressive? Did I make an aggressive gesture towards you? Like, I don't understand that like automatic assumption that all tall women just like you got to fight them to show your dominance, I guess, because they're taller than you. I don't know. And it's usually obviously like men that do that. I get it all the time and it's kind of strange. Or like I get men, like, oh, I could still dunk on you, or I'm still stronger than you. I could still knock you out. And it's like, what? Like, it is the weirdest thing that I encounter. So, I don't know if that's like a way of flirting or it's like I hope, God, I hope not. But it's just like the strangest thing to me. It's like, and it's very common. Other women have said the same thing. Being called a man or men trying to like somehow like show their dominance over you in some other kind of feat of strength, and it's like the weirdest thing. So for sure, yeah, the men who are short, they probably get the, oh, he has the little man syndrome or whatever, and it's like that's the automatic assumption that they're mad and aggressive because they're short, and it's like, or they're insecure because they're shorter than the average or whatever,
Right.
and it's like that's not necessarily true. You know what I mean? Like that's all very individualized. So I think, yeah, that's the number one assumption I get is like, I'm gonna try to fight you. I don't know. Just because I'm
Well,
tall. I don't know.
and when you were like relationship wise, and I don't know how long you've dated, if you've dated other people or whatever, but did you naturally feel uncomfortable at first? Like, were you afraid, maybe even in your teenage years, like, if no one will want to date me who's not taller than me, which would then
Yeah,
naturally make
absolutely.
you feel like, who's that gonna be?
Right. I think, yeah, absolutely. I always had that kind of fear. Like it was a negative. My height was always like brought me a couple pegs down on the dating standard, I guess you could say. Like it brought me a few points down because who's gonna want to date this tall girl that's taller than them? And like, where am I gonna find a guy taller than me? There's so many, but at the time when you're a teenager and like you don't know any better, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then, you know, it was a huge insecurity for me because it was like, oh, like I'm sorry I'm so tall. That's like the stupid mentality that I had. Like, sorry, I know I'm so tall. I'm sorry. And like now I'm like, I'm tall. Like it is what it is. Like I'm tall. Like get over it. You know what I mean? And I wear heels. And
I was gonna
like I
ask,
said,
did you wear heels when you were a teenager? You were like, no.
no, oh God, no. I tried to shrink myself. I'm telling you, for so many years, I wanted to walk in a room and not be noticed. I wanted to blend into the walls like a dang chameleon. Like I wanted no eyes on me. I hated it. I always looked down at the floor. I like would like not try to make eye contact. I hated attention in that aspect from like walking into a crowded room and everybody turns to look at you because you're so tall. I hated that feeling. Now, I'm used to it. Like I don't always love it, but I'm used to it. I expect it. And I just make sure that my posture is really good so that I don't look like I'm hunched over, Now it's like I square my shoulders and I walk tall and I wear heels and I don't care. So it's not a big deal, especially because again, I've been with my husband for so long, and he's kind of helped mold me into obviously the kind of person that I am as far as, well, in so many aspects, right? We've been together for almost 20, going on 21 years.
Yeah.
And so his constant like hyping me up and like not caring that he's shorter than me because he's 6 foot, me being 4 inches taller than him, he's never cared. He's like, wear the heels, like wear the short shorts or wear, because I'm, so tall, like everything looks 10 times shorter on me. He's like, no, show off your long legs. I love it. Like, wear the short shorts. Do whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? Like he's always been my hype man with that, and he's really helped kind of boost my confidence as well as my friends. Like my friends, I have a very small group of friends, and they're always like hyping me up, and they never make me feel like, oh my God, you're so tall. Like they're always like, yeah, you're tall and you're beautiful and own that shit. Sorry, I don't mean to cuss on you. I don't know if we could cuss.
No.
But they're like, own that, own that stuff. And if someone else makes a comment, oh my gosh, if someone were out and about or something and someone else dares to make a comment, they're like pit bulls. They're the first ones. I'm used to it. Like I'm used to hearing comments or people staring or saying things. My friends are so much more defensive of me than I am of myself. It's insane. And that's how I know that they're like real ones. You know what I mean? They don't see my height, they see my heart. And that's what I love about my small but very tight-knit group.
Well, I was gonna ask you too, like, obviously, I feel like there can be two types of people, right? There's those who ignore the elephant in the room, pardon the
Mm-hmm.
expression, but like,
No, yeah.
the really, like, the biggest, like, okay, someone's really short or someone's really tall, and they just try to ignore it and like try to look like at your chest or like try to look like somewhere so they can look like they're looking at like a normal, you know what I'm saying? Like they don't want to look like,
Yeah.
or like they try to like tiptoe up or they try to, something.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then
Even the playing field a little bit.
yeah, and or you have the people who are just so blunt about it that it becomes
Mhm.
uncomfortable because it's just like the only thing you're talking about 5 minutes into meeting somebody.
Right.
Can I ask, like, for you, what's a happy medium? Like, do you prefer if someone just doesn't bring up your height at all, or do you like if someone does, but it's not the main focus of the conversation?
I don't mind it if they're curious about it. I think it's how you bring it up. Like
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. Like it doesn't bother me. I'm not like exasperated like here we go. Like I'm never going to do that as long as people are um courteous about it, you know what I mean? And it's not intrusive. It's not like, whoa, you're so tall, because then I'm gonna come back with like, wow, you're so observant. Like, I'm gonna come back with something just as like, kind of outlandish as that. Like we can both say, the first thing that comes to our mind, like we could play this game all day, you know what I mean? So I don't mind it at all. I actually am okay with it. Like it is what it is. Like I've gotten used to it. It's not common to see super tall women out in the wild. I get that. And I'm tattooed and I have piercings. And so that already brings even more attention to me sometimes. And like I said, I'll wear heels and I'll do whatever I want. So I don't present myself in a way that's meant to be hidden as it is. And I work in like customer service. I deal with people all day,
Yeah.
I'm not, I don't shy away from interactions with people. It's literally part of my job. But even then, like I make social media posts, right? Like that's different because it's obviously like I'm talking to my phone like a crazy person, but I don't shy away from it as long as they're kind about it, as long as they're like not rude and like super blunt and just kind of obnoxious.
Yeah.
I'm open to it. Ask away. And on the contrary, I'm like, you can if you're kind about it and courteous, ask as many questions as you want. I'm not gonna be that person that's like, Stop talking about it. I'm over it." It's no big deal.
Do you find that people, like you were mentioning earlier, that you can become more masculinized in a sense because you're tall?
Hmm. Hmm.
Do you find that that applies even in a work setting or even outside of, like, when we're talking about a teenage setting and then moving to an adult setting? Do you find that people just naturally find you, like when you were saying about men who are like, I could still fight you, so obviously you're giving some sort of daunting presence of some kind. Do you find that, like, you two things: one, do you feel that people would maybe masculinize you to the sense of like looking to you as an authority on something? And then secondly, do you many women find it they're more aware. If it's dark, they're, walking around, they're more aware of, like, okay, if a man comes up to me and hurts me, I'm more in a vulnerable position because I'm either shorter, slimmer, whatever it is. And so I'm going to have to be
Mhm.
on guard. But a woman who is taller does have, I would think, the advantage of being able to be a little more intimidating, potentially, to someone who wants to
Yeah.
just like run out and do something, awful to them. So how does that play out for you in those two scenarios? Do you see a difference, or is it the same?
I think yeah, I definitely noticed on occasion, like at work, for example, people will assume like I'm a manager just because, like, I guess I'm tall and I like the way I present myself and like the way I confidently speak to people. They'll be like, "Oh, are you?" I'm like, "No, I'm not the manager." I don't want to manage people. So I have gotten that, or like, yeah, the being more masculated, like, oh, like I'm taller, I'm stronger, I can deal, or like dealing with people who are maybe more I don't shy away from confrontation either when it comes to certain situations. Like, not because I want to be confrontational, but because I prefer to de-escalate things. So
Yeah.
I think it's also like I feel like I'm a little bit better at de-escalating situations because I'm not afraid of confrontation, if that makes
Mm.
sense. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So, um and I've had to learn to be that way. I've had to learn to like kind of be secure in myself, not only through like different positions, like with my professional positions, but just as a person. Like, I get a lot of attention. I get a lot of people coming out of talking to me out of the blue. I get a lot of people coming and talking to me at bars or at restaurants or anywhere, really, anywhere in the public. So I've had to learn to be okay with strangers coming up to me and talking to me either mostly about my height or my tattoos or whatever. But so yeah, at work I noticed that. And yeah, people automatically assume, especially because I like to lift weights and stuff, so like I'm gonna be a little bit on the stronger side. I'm 6'4". I'm not victim esque by any means, in the sense of like I'm bigger than most men, nonetheless, a woman. And then as far as like, yeah, worrying about having to walk to my car alone, do I still look around? Am I still trying to be, head on a swivel and make sure that, yeah, of course, because you never know. No matter what, I'm still a woman, and a man's always going to be stronger than a woman. And not only that, but like, doesn't mean he's not going to have a knife or a
Yeah.
gun or whatever. And I'm always assuming it's a man, right? Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. But like, or whoever, a person that is trying to cause harm or take advantage of someone that's vulnerable, usually isn't gonna just do it without some kind of a like way to kind of bring you down, a weapon, whatever, right?
Sure.
In my head, although for me, but um as far as like, yeah, I don't worry as much about that. I don't worry as much about a man trying to take advantage of me in that way. I don't worry as much about like not being able to stand on my own 2 feet. I mean, a man, like I said, if I had to square up and fight a man, like a man could still kick my butt, like no matter what. I
Yeah.
don't I don't care how big you are, like men are gonna be stronger than women. But I feel like depending on the situation, I could probably, at least handle my own until like I'm not gonna get completely pummeled, hopefully, and maybe there'll be somebody that'll come help, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
before help comes. But yeah, I mean, I've definitely had that sense of like, uh-oh, like if this dude gets crazy, like I'm gonna be in trouble. But not nearly as much, I think, as the average woman.
Hmm.
I don't worry about like getting kidnapped and like, whatever terrible things happening to me in the parking lot. I don't feel like in a store I have to worry about a man like groping me. Like, it sounds ridiculous, but it happens.
Oh yeah.
Men will literally grope women, or in a bar, walking in, if I go to a bar with my friends or something and it's all girls, I don't worry about nearly as much about a man trying to start something with me as I would for my friends.
Hmm.
Like, I worry more about them, and I do feel like going back to that protective and like that masculine energy. I do feel like the protector when I'm with my girlfriends. Like, I do want to walk them to the bathroom I do want to make sure that we're all okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just because of the height thing or if it's just because I'm a mom and it's just my mom energy, but I think it's a little bit of both. I think knowing like no one else is going to mess with you if I'm with you just because of my size. I hate to sound like that person, but for the most part, like same thing with men. Like most dudes aren't gonna pick a fight with a big dude if they're not as big, unless they know what they're doing, unless they
Right.
know how to fight, right?
Right.
Or they're intoxicated and out of their mind. Then that's a whole nother story. But for the most part, yeah, I don't feel that stress nearly as much, I think, as my girlfriends who are average height or other women who are average height. I don't. I feel a little more secure in that. And so that's a blessing for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, for sure. I mean, I think that when I was thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, that can definitely be like there's blessings and curses, curses to everything, strengths and
Right.
weaknesses and all this, but when you were talking about you're the first person I've talked to who's mentioned, I'm sure many people think this, but they don't say it out loud, like being groped in the grocery store. And I know this is weird, but like you know, I've had instances in a workplace where I was slapped on the butt just randomly, but it was a woman who did it, surprisingly, which was really caught me off guard. But then
Mm.
on top of it, when I said something about it, it was like, eh, you know, no
Yeah.
biggie. And then when I've been in stores, like and I don't know if it's because, my growing up years were more traumatic. I have no idea if all women think this way. But when I see a guy walking really close to me with his grocery cart, like I literally cringe. Like I'm like, I don't know why you're so close to me.
Mhm.
Why? And maybe the seconds are longer in my brain, but it's just I just hear so many stories, and I have had friends experience this. And even one of my friends who's an EMT, like when I'm with her, I do feel pretty safe because I'm like, she knows what she could kick somebody's butt better than me. And
Mhm.
but the sad thing is that you are in this society now where, and there are very nice, kind men, many of them, but there are many, many not great guys too. And I think that's something women so specially have to deal with that makes the world so much harder, is that like being a woman, like the body shape of your body and how you look, that is a target automatically for
Mhm.
wherever you are. Like you could even be wearing nothing revealing whatsoever. And that's a whole new conversation, but you could be wearing just a normal thing and you
Yeah.
could be attacked completely, and
Right.
simply because you're a woman and a man can do something that will give them that immediate pleasure and it will leave the
Mhm.
woman with the consequences. And I think it's just such a sad reality that we have to face as women that I don't think as many men have to face, really.
Right. No, and it's funny you say that. I had this conversation with I have a son who's now my dog's barking. I have a
I know.
son who's 18. And my husband, and we're in the car and I'm like, you know what, you guys never have to worry about walking to your car and like holding your keys in your hand in a certain way to kind of create a
Yeah.
weapon, right?
Yeah.
Like that tall tale. Everybody knows you stick the keys in between the knuckles to kind of do something like that, or having to have pepper spray, or looking around, like making sure no one's around your car trying to get in or do things like that. Like you guys aren't worried about getting groped. I mean, men get groped too. I'm not saying men don't go through sexual harassment whatsoever.
Yeah.
Of course they do. But it's just different. Like from a very young age, if girls start developing at a very young age, they don't even know what's going on with their body, and automatically you'll have grown men looking at young women, right? Like,
Yeah.
and we see it everywhere. It's not isolated, you know what I mean? It's everywhere. It's worldwide. And so it's got to be true, right? Like if it's a one case scenario where it's like, yeah, no, not all men are like that, and they're not. Like you said, there's so many great men. Um but let's not pretend like men aren't responsible for the majority of violent crimes, especially against women.
Yeah.
And men aren't the gender that unfortunately rapes and molests and commits all these atrocious crimes. Like, do women do it too? Absolutely. We're seeing it, a lot, right? like the teachers who's are messing with their underage students and stuff like that. You've seen a lot of trend of that coming up more, but unfortunately, it's a landslide of statistics that men are usually the ones doing that to women because they can. And it's sad because there's no other, what's the other explanation for it? It's because they can. Because women, that's why women need to, like, hopefully learn to defend themselves, maybe take some self-defense classes. You hear women all the time, I see in comments when you see something atrocious happening, this is why women should carry pepper spray, or this is why women should be allowed to have a firearm, like, you know what I mean? And it's like, it sounds crazy and it sounds extreme, but then we see some of the atrocities that happen, atrocities that women have to go through at the hands of man just because a man could. And
Yeah.
then you're like, oh, that makes sense, you know what I mean? And not just women, young girls and even children. And going back to like what you said, it doesn't matter what you're wearing. And I know this is a whole nother topic of conversation, but you know, well, what about the infant wearing a onesie? Like, was that too provocative? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's not all men. And I don't like to dump, I'm not a man hater. I don't like to dump all men in one category, but yeah, it's a very scary world for a woman who doesn't have um like the resources or the know-how or
Yeah.
whatever available to them to prevent something like that from happening, and it's like we live in a civilized society, right? But what about like third world countries where you see this happening on the daily basis, like as like
Oh
the
yeah.
Congo, and like, you know what I mean, where children are being taken advantage of, innocent children, and that happens here too, unfortunately, right? But yeah, it's not an isolated event. So I'm
No.
glad that I've never, thank God, gone through anything like that. But I know so many women have, and I just hope that I'm raising a man to be better than that he won't do something like that. That's all I can do, right? We
Yeah.
can't control other people. Um, we just have to focus on maybe trying to raise our children, raise our boys better, and raise our young girls to stand up for themselves, and that's why I think it's really important not to shut little girls up when girls are chatty and yappy and they speak their minds. It's like, okay, girl, as long as they're not being rude and like, mean girl or whatever, but it's okay to have an opinion. Don't shut your girls up. They need to be able to stand up for themselves, because a woman who's seems like, more meek and vulnerable versus one who's got a loud mouth and says what's on her mind. Well, guess who would probably be more, I'm not saying that a woman wouldn't be hurt if she had a loud mouth or
Yeah.
whatever and spoke her mind, but
Yeah.
a man would probably want a victim, right? Like someone who isn't going to put up as much of a fight.
Yeah.
So, that's just my kind of thought on it.
No,
And so, yeah.
and I think it's so important, like what you said about your son. Like I fought this. If I ever have a son, it's like for a son knowing that his worth is not in how many girls like him, first of all, and then secondly,
Hmm.
his like to be a man of kindness and tenderness and respect, that when you look at a woman you see something that is a creation, not an object. And then
Right.
for a woman being like, your worth is not in how you look. And
Hmm.
then secondly, you are valuable, and anyone who is going to try to devalue you in some way, that's a red flag. Immediate
Yeah.
red flag. That's not even a like, let's talk about this more. That's a, we're done. Like, we're not even
Yeah.
going further here. And it's sad because, like you said, it's like there was a time when this was more just common sense, and now it's like you actually, especially when a child has that phone and that's their companion
Mhm.
in their room, you have to instill these things, because because someone else will do it for you.
Yeah.
100% very
Hmm.
happy to do it for you, you know?
Hmm. It starts at home for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it starts at home. I think that, making sure that you have a good foundation at home, and no one's perfect and no family's perfect, and we by no means are even close to that, right?
But you're
But I think
tall.
just,
Of course you're
yeah. Right. And so is my son, and he knows it too. Like he's 6'5", and he's a tall kid. He's got, um, pretty green
Your
eyes.
virtue
So
has to
he's
be high if you're tall.
yeah, right, right. But it's like, yeah, we're closer to God, right? So we gotta be. That the bigger the hair, the closer to God. Wasn't that like a saying back in the day? So we're definitely closer. But yeah, it starts at home. I think just strive to be a good person. You know what I mean? Like these are just meat sacks that are gonna decompose one day. Like just, life is short. Try to be a good person, and it's not only gonna make your life a little bit better, but hopefully those around you as well, and I think that's the most important thing. Like we're all gonna get old, we're all gonna sag, we're all gonna wrinkle, if we're fortunate enough to make it to old age, right? Because some people
Yeah,
don't. And so it's again, aging is a privilege. And I think as long as try to lead with kindness, and again, it's try is the word because we don't always do it, right? Like we always, sometimes we let things get to us and we slip up. But at the end of the day, it starts at home. And if you can set that example
yeah,
for your kids, and try to instill that in them. Once they're adults, honestly, they're going to do what they want to do anyway. But you can try, you can try, and that's all we can do in any aspect is just at least try. So, that's kind of how I see it. So hopefully my son is being raised to be a good man. That's all I can hope for. I'm trying.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, they fly away and do their own thing, and they got to learn their own lessons the hard way sometimes. So we're doing the best we can do with what we got,
yeah.
So
And that's
you
it. I
know,
mean, and this is another, and now I'm just going to say this and then come back, but it's like your identity is not in your kids, and that's really hard,
right,
but it's not. So if they end up doing something that you did not instill in them, or it was not your hope that would happen, yes, you could have contributed in some way. If you did something that, if you look back, there's always something you can think of that maybe, you whatever, but they made their own choice eventually,
mhm,
and that's something to remember, is that my choice is not my child's. It's not, you're not tied to this bone like actions, and that's something that it's hard as a parent, I've heard, to disconnect from, but it's true. You cannot make your child your project, where it's like that's my worth, is how they turned out you know
right,
but
right.
I did want to ask you, because I want to be respectful of your time, like, what, as one last question, what is something you'd encourage girls or young women listening who, or even older women, who are more mature women who are taller, and it's maybe discouraging to them in some way, whether it be for beauty or it be just for, maybe everyone says they're tall every single day. What is something you can say that's like, yeah, you're tall, but this, you know?
Yeah, I would say own it. I would say own it. You were clearly not created to fit in. None of us were, and it's not just height, right? I would say own it. It's beautiful in its own way. We're like kind of like unicorns, you know what I mean? Like it's I say that like, oh, we see another unicorn. Whenever I see another tall woman in the wild, I'm like, oh, it's like seeing a unicorn, it's like because it's a rare thing, and it's getting less rare. And I would say, just know that you're made the way you're supposed to be made, right? Like, and there was no mistake when you were made. Like you weren't created in a wrong way. You weren't an accident. And it wasn't an accident like whoop when you were, when the height was being poured into your creation, it wasn't like a slip of the hand. You're exactly what you're supposed to be. You are exactly who you're supposed to be. And at the end of the day, it's a beautiful thing. It's an honor to stand out because I know it's hard because in a world where we're just all trying to fit in, especially humankind, like that's the camaraderie, aspect of it. Like we all just want to fit in and be a part of something. You are a part of something. Like, and you're a part of something really special because being a tall woman, no matter what age you are, is special. And Anyone that tells you otherwise is dead wrong, and don't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about. And it might be hard when you're, if I'm talking to young girls who are struggling with fitting in like I did. You Listen, you're gonna struggle right now, but once you come into your own self, you're gonna realize like how much time you wasted worrying about the wrong things, So cut that time in half. Stop putting your self-worth in your looks or fitting in or
Hmm.
how other people see you. And do what makes you happy. You know what I mean? You're tall, it's okay. There's a lot more athletes out there. There's a lot more tall women out there that are showing out and showing up. And I think they're setting great examples. And I would have loved to see that growing up. I would
Hmm.
have loved to see more tall women confident in their bodies and, whether it's plus size or model-esque or whatever it is, like it's all beautiful and it doesn't define you. You know what I mean? You're more than your height, you're your heart. That's what's important about you. So if you're a good person, who cares? Who cares? Again, like, not just the tall women, any person. Again, it's just a meat sack. It's gonna disappear. It's gonna dissolve. It's gonna go back into the ground or to wherever, and what's left. You know, is that what you want to be known for just being tall?
Hmm.
Like, no, I want to be known for being a good friend and a good wife and a good mom and, my humor and what I've contributed. So your height is a great, great thing, but it's honestly the least interesting thing about you. You know what I mean? That's how I see it, you know? So, and that's everybody. That's everybody across the board, whether you're a tall woman or a short king, as they like to call some of them don't like to be called that, but across the board, your height is the least interesting thing about you, honey. It's beautiful, but just, make it count in other places is what I would say,
Hmm.
you know? Yeah,
Well, Jen, thank you so much. And
of course.
you are definitely a podcast person. I mean,
Oh, thank you.
you're just like, I am talking. If you're not listening, you're missing out kind of personality. So,
Oh, sorry. I hope I didn't overstep. I didn't
no,
try
no,
to take over. I've had so much
I'm
fun.
so grateful because it's so nice when someone's comfortable because they just, they don't mind. It's nice because then
Yeah.
they just talk and then you have a good conversation. So, I'm really
Sometimes
grateful.
I overshare, so I apologize if I overshare.
You did
I get
it.
nervous and I yap. That's what I do. I high altitude yap.
Yeah, but since you're so tall, that's another plus. You can't
Yeah,
see
right.
people looking down on you anyway, so
No, I'm too
too
busy.
bad. Yeah.
Too busy up
Uh,
here, way up here.
all right, Jen, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Danielle. It was such a pleasure. Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Yes, bye.
Bye.